Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles, Legend of Zelda D&D campaign, run by myself, ArticulateT. This is episode 98, and we are joined, as always, by Renji Vox, played by TheNetherlad.
That's me.
I have Hikan Sio, being played by Avrdal.
Hello.
I have Zayden Shari, being played by Robopirate.
Hello.
And I have Max, being played by Keistrith.
Hi.
So, what happened last time, friends?
Well, last time on Hyrule Chronicles. The Storm's Eye are cornered in a temple of Mazro village, and they're suddenly hit by a strange wave of magical energy, wakening Max and Zayden. Just as this happens, a swarm of scarab beetles breaks through the temple's windows, threatening our heroes, the temple's leader Lucian, and his congregation. Something is very wrong. After fighting off the scarabs, our heroes discover that the entire town is under some magic effect, or rather, the town has been transported somewhere else through magic. Checking in with the Harvester, Renji realizes that they are on another plane, and speaking with Mara through the Sending Stone reveals another predicament. Time doesn't flow as it does in the prime material plane. It flows much faster here. And this here is what Mara identifies as the Plane of Lament. As the party regroups in the temple, there's a knock on the door. A group of ghosts with lanterns, pose, are outside. Unsure of why they're there, but it's clear that they died from the scarab attack. With no clear help to find within the town, our heroes decide to head out of town and towards a faint light that Renji had spotted from up in the temple bell tower. The faint light turns out to come from a decrepit hut, a small dwelling. There they find a Zora carrying a lantern just like the other pose. The Zora identifies himself as Donatash, a name that rings familiar to the group as the writer of a logbook found on the sealed isle. He invites them in, apparently surprised that they are not dead. Before they can truly process this reveal, another Poe joins them from the dwelling's upstairs floor. As this second figure reveals himself, the group recognizes him. None other than their deceased ex-employer, Lord Simeon, looks at them and says, "My word."
Yes, indeed. Though, there is one slight correction I would make to that, is that time does not flow faster in the plane, it flows slower.
Right, sorry.
Yeah, because Mara was...
A few
Yeah.
seconds
You're right.
here is like 40 minutes out there.
That is, I messed that up. I
No,
apologize.
that's fine. That's all right. Yeah, otherwise, perfectly correct. So, I need to get appropriate music.
Time dilation's normally pretty hard to understand the first time anyway. You always gotta double check and triple
Yeah.
check.
Will this be appropriate? As it takes 10 billion years to go somewhere? Nah. Let's do this instead. Oh, reliable. Good old Kevin MacLeod. Okay.
Thanks,
Who?
Kev.
Yeah, whose royalty-free music has basically populated the vast majority of my playlist for this campaign.
Understandable.
Yeah. But anyway, so with we return to our players, to our characters, having just locked eyes with the recently, I say recently, it's been a couple of months from your perspective, deceased nobleman, Lord of Education, Lord Simeon, who, at the very start of the campaign, had employed the party to run various errands for him in the name of improving Hyrule's general education and knowledge of its history, which has always been kind of a difficult thing for the kingdom to maintain, oddly enough.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He is the one that sent us off to the Artemark dungeon, correct?
He sent you to the Artemark dungeon, the Echo of Hylia.
Anything that was outside of Castletown and Lon range, pretty much.
Because he used to rely on scribes, but scribes couldn't fight, so he thought it best you do it and bring it back so the scribes can do their job
and I
in
can
safety.
write.
Yeah. But yes, he kind of like stares aghast at all of you, not in like he's afraid to see you here, but he's just like, it's clear he wasn't expecting you here, and he's just trying to process the situation.
I think my response is very similar in that I did not expect to see him ever again.
Same.
And then my face grows a little colder, a little starker. And who are you, really?
I'm Simeon. He's kind of like, as he looks over you, there's a change in expression where he seems to have gotten past the hurdle of, it's you guys again, to, oh god, we're in this place. What happened to, like, it's just like, what happened to you?
We found ourselves here by means of transportation, bringing an entire village into this place.
So you're not dead?
No.
As far as we can tell.
Yeah, like a weight just kind of lifts from him. He just, I was so worried.
Pardon me for being suspicious. Can you prove to us that you really are Lord Simeon?
Oh, that's easy. And I look at Simeon and go, so, what was it that you told me when we put my treasure in the box? You don't have to quote it. People can go watch the old episode.
Yeah.
But it is the only thing that Simeon and Hikan would know.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, me, the person in real life, has completely forgotten. But I will tell you for free, Simeon would, like, the Simeon who stands before you now would know this. He just...
I also have forgotten.
If he is the real Lord Simeon.
It's been 98 episodes.
It's been less than that.
It's been 3 years.
We have slept at least once since then.
Yeah.
That's true.
But as he says that, if he sees that anyone is unconvinced, he says, well, let's see. You like he points to Renji and Hikan and says, you two, along with Sho, the three of you had aided my scribes who had been robbed by bandits beforehand. You retrieved for me an astrolabe that was taken as part of their research, and you brought it back here. And the two of you, and he points to Max and Zayden, and says, you have also been running a variety of different things that have been rather helpful to me, and so I thought at some point to bring you all together, along with a Gerudo woman, Tyrina. She was also with the two of you and Sho, and you had I wanted to expand my research, improve the historical record of Hyrule, which has always been spotty at best, and I needed people capable of surviving the dangerous aspects of Hyrule Field and beyond, and you've done a sterling job in that regard. And I was, I had organized uh, uh, a lecture at my family graveyard, which I have done
You can
plenty.
stop now.
Can. Aspiration glows less bright as I turn down that effect to its normal brightness. I'm sorry, old friend.
Kind of like cast a glance at the dark void beyond the window, and it's like, no, it is understandable. It is not exactly. Your arrival here is not, even in the normal circumstances, is not exactly a pleasant one, and
How long has it been for you here?
for me, it has been. He pauses a moment and says, well, with something of a shrug, he holds up the lantern, which rattles a bit with the little green flame, and says, we don't typically need sleep, and the sun, well, there is not really a sun to rise here, so it's difficult to tell. At best estimate, I would say it's been perhaps a couple of weeks at best. And
It has been several months.
Oh,
We tried contacting Mara with the sending stone, and apparently time's different between here and home.
oh, Mara is in the royal librarian.
She's
Correct.
been helping us.
Huh. What? I I always knew she had it in her, but well, she kind of shrugs. Donatash just goes, I think it is best that we settle down and maybe discuss this in a little more detail.
Before we do, I take out the sending stone. And I will say, checking in, I think it has been an hour and a half or so since we left the town. We have found some more pose, and we are going to have a discussion with them about how to, well, figuring out what's going on here.
The response you get back is, okay, thank you for checking in. It's been a couple of days. I spoke to Uriel. He's gonna do his best in order to try and get you back, but it may take some time. He assured me free of charge, but for the most part, he's, with Zelish out, he's kind of the authority on magic that we can refer to at the moment. Hopefully we'll manage to get some kind of idea on what we can do. I don't... Uriel says that demi-planes, as from what he can understand, are difficult to break into on purpose. So he's gonna try his best. Hopefully he'll have more of a report for you when you next check in.
Thank you, Mara. Uriel working for free. It's more serious than I thought.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like him.
We'll keep you updated when we can.
Okay. Take care.
You too. I tuck the stone back in my bag. Should I have told her about you? I turn to the group and then to Lord Simeon.
I don't think that's a conversation we have time to have over the weird timey-wimey stuff.
You're right. Every time it's like 40 minutes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How many chairs are there here?
Those not occupied by books, there's at least 2, but Simeon kind of begins dragging other mismatching chairs and stools in to be around this table, and moving books, of course.
I'll help.
Yeah. After a couple of minutes, he sits down, and so does Donatash, and as whether or not you choose to sit or stand, Simeon kind of just begins and says, for the most part, I had awoken here in the middle of what could only be described as nowhere. Admittedly, I was never too learned in regards to the grand cosmology of our world. I did not have any indication as to what an afterlife might look like, but I could tell from the moment that I arrived here that it would not be this. I essentially picked a direction and walked, and then eventually that's when I stumbled into this fine gentleman. And Donatash just kind of like shakes his head and says, I have been here for at least for a while. Did you say what year it was?
Well, when we found your journals, and I kind of just explain the dilation between them.
I'm also going to drop the French accent because I can't recover it for some reason today, and I have no idea
That
why.
C'est une tragédie.
Not all Zoras have to be French.
No, yeah, not all Zoras have to be French, but it's like I started with him when he turned up, and it was like I tried to continue, but I couldn't for some reason.
You got so far.
I know. But he says, well, judging by that distance, I would say that has been a couple of centuries, at the very least.
Very least, yes.
How much do you know of the thing that you are entangled with?
The sovereign hand or the arbiter?
Both.
You know, the Sovereign Hand's a cult. They worship some kind of big undead thing.
Yay high, Con like jumps up. Horns, big
Jumps
fuck
up,
off
hits the
sword.
ceiling.
Well,
Some mural tatted person walking out of the sword.
I see. Well, that is quite a predicament. What you are currently entangled with is quite old. I suppose I should elaborate for as best I can.
Max is like leaning forward in his seat, paying very attention.
as you probably are aware, I am Donatash. I was once a member of a intrepid adventuring group called the Company of D. We had been our leader had elected to give us the name because all of our names had started with the letter D. Donatash, there was Dani. She was a Gerudo, a very quiet woman. Wandered around in what I believe was the iron knuckle pattern of armor inspired by the Dark Nuts. She never said a word, but she was reliable, and she had a good head on her shoulders. There was Danik, a Goron, who I would often butt head with, but he always had the best interest of people. There was Dahlia. I was always conflicted about Dahlia being part of the party because, well, despite the fact that she was older than us, she was perpetually appearing as a child. I believe she was a Kokori. I do not know exactly any more details, but she was good with a bow, and our leader, Dalian, he was insistent on her being part of the party because, from what he tells me, she wanted adventure and wanted to prove herself for something, and, well, he was hard to dissuade from a certain course of action. And of course, there is Dalian himself, a Hylian of noble birth who was bored with the noble life and wanted to do something proactive. And we had gone on a number of adventures together. I was the court wizard of the current king at the time. I do not know how often or how many times since my death the king of Zizora had been changed over. But we had made a name for ourselves in the midst of the civil war, which was much larger. Much larger. It started dying down. I do not know if it has gotten any bigger, although Simeon tells me that it has gotten much smaller. We had retired after some time, or supposedly, but then we had received a missive from a collection of individuals who wanted us to go on one last adventure, to find one more thing, and Dalian was not content with his retirement, and so he rounded us all up once more, and we took a ship from Zarkosa to a place that had no name. We found it, but the spiky exterior that surrounded the island was difficult to traverse by galleons, so we took a rowboat and we navigated and clambered and got onto the island itself. It was not a pleasant experience. As you can imagine.
We don't have to, we were there.
None of us survived. Dalian, who was the one with the most potent of healing magics, he fell afoul of a trap and disappeared into the abyss. Danny and Danik both were bitten by something and grew ill over time. Dahlia had just vanished, and I could not find her. And you can see he kind of deflates a bit. Like he just kind of, as he hits something as a part of the memory, there's a moment where he feels incredible. Like you can see with your insights, he's racked with guilt. And he says, I think after a while, especially after the death of Darian, that there was just the thought among us that we wanted the trip to be over, It's just that half of us wanted to finish the job so that his death was not be in vain. The others, myself and Denny, we had decided that it would be best if we simply cut our losses and left. We argued for days on this, which was not helped by the inability to get any decent amount of sleep. But with me as the last man standing, I had decided that if I was to convince my sickened companions that we needed to leave, then we would have to solve the problem and go. And so I decided that instead of playing along with the riddles and mechanisms that had been a part of this particular dungeon that we had been sent to delve, I decided to use my magics to cheat. I had kept teleportation magics for the sake of leaving in a hurry, but I was not going to simply abandon my friends. It was just for me, of course, but I decided to use them to bypass the door. And the moment I got on the other side of that seal, that's when I started hearing the voices, which, when you are lacking sleep and food and are so thoroughly angry with yourself and your companions in the world, well, it becomes a rather sweet song. Something had possessed me, which I found out far too late was something that was old and malicious. It did not need much of a fight to take control, and it used what magics I had remaining to leave its sealing grounds, destroy one of the keys that had kept it locked down there, and take another for safekeeping, I suppose. I was the only one to return to the galleon. The thing that was possessing my body had decided to inform the crew that the rest were dead. We had our treasure, we could leave. By the time our galleon ran aground on Hylian shores, it was myself and one very, very broken man. He had taken the orb and fled somewhere that I do not know, but the orb was not the goal of my possessor. He had his victory. He had set foot on the mainland, and over time had decided to exploit the pain and suffering that had been caused by the Civil War. He exploited the fears of the people and planted the seeds of a cult, one that would have people throw themselves at undeath. But after a time, he had recovered enough powers that he did not need a physical form in order to remain on this plane of existence, and left me in a rather messy state. And he kind of gestures vaguely at the scar that runs up his chest to his neck and is just very jagged and rather awful.
I mean, he physically left.
Yes. And that is when I ended up here.
We came across your vessel. We came across that orb that you had taken, that the spirit inhabiting you had taken. And we eventually found the orb and broke it.
I see.
It was being used to hurt other people.
It was.
I do not misunderstand. I merely lament the unfortunate circumstances by which such a item that may have been used could be used to put the thing back where it was. I do not judge your actions. Until now, I can only imagine that you had no idea what that thing meant, and
We
at the
did
time,
recover
probably
the
even
other
less
ones.
so. I cannot
But
blame
the
you
other
for...
ones, we did recover the other ones from the island.
I see. That is good. So,
And we had a vision of stuff back when, when supposedly he was first sealed away, and we wrote down some of the stuff then. Whether or not it's accurate remains to be seen, but we saw the castle that we saw in the vision well, I wasn't there for that, but my friends saw the castle in the vision that they had. And so we've got people looking into that.
There is not much that I know of this Nazgrodar, but I do know a few things of his mechanical nature as far as what he is and how we've ended up here.
Any information is
what
welcome.
now?
So, I do not. I ask this mostly because I do not know the development of magic over the past couple of centuries. I do not know how well known things are anymore. But what do you know of liches? You can feel free to roll Arcana if you would like to know about liches.
Oh boy.
I'm going to see. Maybe I've read something in a
Owls.
book that I shouldn't have had. 17.
17!
Nice.
So, Max, this might escape you a little bit. Maybe it's not part of some
Max
of the books
is
that you've
like,
already been reading.
are those like witches?
But Zayden, Renji, and Hikan, funnily enough, through various different sources, you have encountered the general descriptor of a lich, basically being a individual, more than likely a powerful spellcaster, does something in order to give them immortality and expand their power, but doing so in a very, very, there's no other way of saying this, evil way.
Muhaha, evil.
Yes.
If
Don't
you want
try
to
this
become a
at home,
lich,
kid.
you must kick at least one puppy.
Oh no.
Don't
I
try
will
this
never
at
be a
home.
lich.
Yeah. So, yeah. Donatash will just kind of say, well, like he'll, if people are a bit fuzzy, he will explain it, but it's like, usually, liches are something that is, at least in more, he pauses, as if he was going to say modern spellcasting, but given he's 200 years out of sync at the very least, it's not modern anymore. He says, in immortal spellcasting, that is usually the key factor of what a lich wants to do. Either they want to expand their magical capabilities, or they want to expand their lifetime in order to escape something that either they fear or they just see as an inconvenience in their way to acquire more knowledge. The issue is that Nazgrodar in of himself is not strictly mortal. He is a demon, inherently speaking. But his lichdom still follows the same actual mechanical functions of what other liches do. He is intrinsically linked to a phylactery, which is an object within which he has housed his soul and most of his power in order to continue his life force. In most cases, phylacteries are small boxes or vials or something ornamental. but it does not have to be. Some liches have been able to put their soul into a book, or even another living person. Nazgradar put his into his sword, which was, from whatever memories I could see, was a immense cleaver of a black metal that is rough and difficult to forge with, but is otherwise indestructible unless broken by a weapon of a similar construction. I don't know the name of the metal that the sword is made out of, but I do know its counterpart, and that is called Imperium. Empyrium.
When you say counterpart, what do you mean?
Imperium and this other metal are physical resources that are intrinsically linked to the outer planes. Imperium belongs in the higher planes. It is the metal of the gods. Its counterpart is on the opposite side of the cosmological landscape, I suppose. It is
Like the Twilight Realm?
no. I would not say the Twilight Realm is inherently on the opposing side. It's difficult to place the Twilight Realm in the cosmological sense. I would say something along the lines of belonging in the Hells, or other places that are physically inherently constructed and molded around what mortals would consider morality.
You want to say
Physical manifestations of good and evil, and so on and so forth.
You want to say at the mention of stuff that's like tied to the heavens and things like that, Hikan has pulled out the Book of Mudora and was going back to the holy items pages.
Max is looking at the claws on his gauntlet.
The problem is, Imperium is incredibly difficult to find. And I do not mean in the sense of there are things where there are locations that are inherently holy or desecrated. I mean, it is impossible to find a vein of the ore on the material plane. It only exists in its natural form in the upper planes. The only way a mortal would be able to get their hands on a piece of Imperium would be if they had visited the upper planes themselves, or if someone else who was selling it and did not know what they were selling had sold. Judging from previous iterations of the actual legends that forms the foundation of the Kingdom of Hyrule, I would wager a guess that the Blade of Evil's Bane is made from Imperium.
Since no one's jumped,
that?
so yeah. Where's that then?
I do not know. He looks at Simeon, and Simeon says, as far as we could tell, the Blade of Evil's Bane has been mostly a folk tale or a legend that has been passed down through generations of stories. We do not have the faintest idea, if it is real, where it might be.
Is there any secret Sheikah lore that the three of us might know?
Roll history.
I have advantage since my parents work for the temple and stuff.
You do.
Yeah.
21 for me.
Poseidon.
10.
Okay. It's escaping Zidon and Hikan. It's escaping you a bit at the moment. Renji, you know from the Sheikah version of events of history, the Blade of Evil's Bane, otherwise known as the Master Sword, is real. It is a real physical weapon, but the problem lies twofold. One, it is an insanely well-hidden, well-secured weapon that the royal family has basically been given divine instructions not to let anyone touch it unless they have very, very good cosmic level reasons as to do it. And the other one being, kind of the reason behind that is the Master Sword has been said to be a sentient weapon who is very choosy on who picks it up.
Oh shit, we're going to have to talk to Zelish.
That thing, the spiel I suppose I had in regards to the phylactery kind of brings me to here, the Plane of Lament. At first, when I arrived here, I thought that we were inside the phylactery, because a phylactery as it is also meant to consume the souls of other creatures in order to sustain its power. But I've been here for a while, and I have not disappeared, and until Simeon had shown up, I had not bumped into any other form of soul. And you are here physically alive, which is unknown to me. So that would tell me that we are not inside the phylactery, but perhaps in a storage space that the demon is capable of utilizing to sustain his phylactery when and if he needs to. But I do know how we got here, and when Simeon arrived, I had my theory correct. Any creature that has been killed by this demon's undead specifically winds up here.
Then, recently, today, or the real word several days ago, someone managed to kill a town.
No, we're not dead.
We are not dead, but the town has been taken. Building, brick by brick.
The people in the town weren't dead either.
Yeah, it was a summoning spell, not a murder spell.
It was figurative.
Max blinks.
Sorry. It seemed to be a matter transference thing. There were nails hidden in sort of milestones or marker stones around the village that
Still there.
they are still there, yeah.
All of them had conjuration magic on them.
And it doesn't appear to be something we can destroy with the weaponry that we possess. And I kind of twirl aspiration around carefully.
I see. So that probably would be also made of this similar material.
Possibly.
The other aspect of this is perhaps the last few things I had before, or my connection to this creature had gone away, and he departed my body and left me for dead. It would be that he does not know where his own phylactery is. Do you perhaps know of any instance in which there is a sword that is lying around somewhere that you have encountered, or
No, but we saw the one in the mural that had the lady stepping out of it.
you
That
think
had
some
Brett. the red hair lady.
Hmm.
They are looking for maidens with red hair.
Yeah.
I see. Curious. One would think that if it is intrinsically linked to him, that the phylactery would be wanting to find its master again, but
How long has it been? Maybe it changed its mind. Can it do that? I don't know.
I have no idea myself. I have no details of that particular thing.
Sometimes creations turn against their masters.
You also mentioned, like, it is the opposite of the Imperium metal. Do you think it can be damaged by something of its own metal or material?
A part of me would have assumed so, but I cannot say for certain.
If we can manage to break like one of those nails, bring it back with us somehow.
Is that a is that a risk that we're willing to take if it doesn't work?
I mean, I'm just looking for. I think it is a more realistic approach than getting the royal family to hand us a sword that they have kept secret and protected for aeons.
Sure. We could also see if our buddy back that we left at Zoro's domain to recover knows anything.
You're right. Yeah, of course. Why didn't I think? And Renji just kind of shuts down and thought it for a moment.
I completely forgot you guys saved an angel.
We did.
I didn't.
Hey, buddy, can you do us a solid?
We saved your life.
Can we borrow a sword?
Do you have a van?
Do you have a sword?
Oh, dear.
Or a stick. I'll use a stick.
It's going to be our man with a van.
Yeah.
I will also state that I am next level able to get plane shift if we can get something attuned to the heavens.
Like our friend in Zora's domain.
Hey friend, can you
Angel
hold still a sec whilst I use you as a spell component?
Wait, what?
Don't worry about it.
Can I borrow a feather?
But yeah, as you guys are thinking about this, Simeon, who's currently just quietly observing, goes, so you say that there have been these nails that have been just placed around this village. Were they responsible, do you think, for transporting the village here?
Yes.
Yeah.
We think so, yeah.
Well, they think so.
He kind of thinks a bit a moment and says, and he looks around the room, not necessarily at any books, just at the existence of the room, and says, Donatash, did you build this building? And he says, no. And he says, but this must have been brought here by similar instances. You know, the funny thing is, before I met with Donatash, there was one structure that I ran into on my wanderings. I didn't think anything of it because I had no idea where I was, but now that you're here and explaining this, it brings to mind something rather curious. And he kind of, like, gets up, and he, like, opens the door to the outside and, like, peers around and says, yes, I think it was that way. And he just points in a direction and says, sometime in that direction, was where we left from last time, and I had only ever been traveling in a straight line, I'm sure. But it closes the door again. I'll point it out again, of course. But I found what appeared to be a ship.
Okay.
Just this half-buried, half-broken ship that just existed in the center. Now, a town as large as it is rather immobile. So having points of things that might aid in massively transporting stone and material of that nature, that would require that, but that town isn't going anywhere, so it would be easy to set up, and a building of this size, perhaps by itself, is not exactly, for a potent enough spellcaster to be traveling among I imagine it is quite an arduous task, given other spellcasting efforts that I have seen before. Transporting a building like this may not require such things there, but a ship the size, potentially, of a full galleon, that would require setup of that nature as well, and unless the thing had been dry docked for a while, it would be rather difficult to set something up like that on an ever-moving surface such as water. Perhaps that's something worth investigating. Why was a ship brought to this plane of existence?
Indeed.
Could we go visit this ship?
Certainly could. I'd be happy to travel with you. I mean, I'm not exactly appetizing towards the other denizens of this locale, you see. Not really, if anything, kind of like just I'm already dead. I'm not exactly...
Well, in the village there are some people who did die when we got here because of a scarab beetle attack. I'm not sure if that's something you were familiar with, Donatash.
It's the same bugs as the ones from the island.
I imagine that... I don't know what it is called, but I have encountered similar clouds of these creatures. The only thing is that they completely ignored myself. So my assumption would be that perhaps the only ones at danger would be the people who came with you who did not die, and yourselves. Unless, of course, there are other individuals on this plane that are also alive somehow.
I figured out they don't like light.
It is a thing that is absent from this plane of existence, so yes, that I suppose that does make some form of sense.
There is also most of a town of people still alive.
And while I do not begrudge you, having this place to call your own, perhaps for the time being, you could do with some new company.
Well, even if you didn't want to talk to him, you could take a look at the nails.
True.
Couldn't I? Very well. If that is the case, I would then make my way there. I shall, if it helps to atone for what I have unwittingly brought upon this world, I shall go and be that town's guardian for the time being, and also investigate those nails. Simeon,
if you want into the church where most of the peoples are, you knock on the door and say Storm's Eye.
Thank you. Are you going to be okay traveling, Simeon? I know that these are your friends, and I do not doubt their capabilities, but it is quite a trek, and, well, Simeon's like, oh, I should be fine.
Go and ask for Dr. Marshall.
Dr. Marshall. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He knows us.
He's the most sensible person there.
Well, I shall go
As far
and
as we
fetch...
can tell, yeah.
I shall fetch my spellbook and my components, and I shall make my way there now.
Thank you.
Gets up and prepares his stuff, and Simeon kind of looks over to you and says, I know that this is a rather grim and unfortunate situation, but I do find it rather riveting to be going on an adventure with all of you now. So, when you are ready, I shall lead you to this vessel that I have encountered.
A nuclear vessel? Ew.
That's a
I'm just
vessel.
thinking of Donatash going off to get his spellbook and all, and like, you can still use magic? What would happen if you cast Resurrect on yourself?
He's a wizard, he doesn't have that.
Oh, we need to get a cleric
Yeah.
And
to
kill him.
die. To die specifically to undeath stuff,
Oh dear.
Yeah. You
which is very hard for a cleric.
it's quite possible at this point that with like your collective arcanas and stuff that you probably understand now the reason why the resurrection spell on Simeon didn't work the first time around.
Yeah.
His soul is trapped here. It's something
Yeah.
that's actively preventing him from leaving.
Well, poop.
I'm actually gonna bring that up. Really, we did try and bring you back.
Oh. Thank you. It's actually, I mean, he kind of like drums his fingers on the table as he tries to find a way to word it and says, I will be brutally honest and say that the amount of times that I have been operating within my capacity as Lord of Education, I had found there had been a rather discernible disparity between those of my station and similar social class and those within the rest of Hyrule, and it was unfortunate, I felt, that despite my station, education in the kingdom had been rather lacking. And then all of you had entered into my employ, and for the longest time I felt that a change was due to happen. So even if I was not to come back at this point in time, I can only say thank you for everything that you have ever done. I am simply proud to call you my friends. And he kind of like looks around a bit and says, I expect you to pass that message on to Sho and Tyrina when you next see them.
We will.
Yeah.
Also, we're barons now. Did we mention that? We're barons now.
Oh, you're barons now. Congratulations.
We have a lot to catch up on, so
I still don't know what that means.
We haven't rubbed it into Lord Rickshaw's face yet.
Oh, if only I could see that. But that's fine. That's okay. Come, we shall catch up on the way. It'll make the long journey far more pleasant.
Indeed.
And so he gets up. He contemplates packing anything for a long journey, as one might expect in this situation, but realizes that he doesn't need to eat or sleep or do anything else. So he's just kind of like, well, I'm packed, and just like
yes, I will grab my thing.
Oh dear. But yes, so you make your way out, and as for a moment, Simeon kind of looks in each direction, recounts, like he like turns back to the house to remember exactly what direction he was facing it when when he and Donatash arrived, and was like, right, follow me, and just kind of begins trudging on. And over the course of the trip, he starts peppering you with questions as to what happened after he died, what happened within the rest of Hyrule, and how are things going.
Oh, by the way, the king
By
is
the-
dead comes up.
Yeah, long live the king.
But it can't all be pleasant conversations, sadly,
No.
considering things that have gone
Max,
down.
Max does not talk about his personal stuff with the tower.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because he only knows so much. He's only asking questions of things like, what's the current state? Like, how are things going with this person? How are things going with this person? He's a bit saddened. He's saddened to hear about the king. He's proud of Mara for stepping out of her shell from leaving the library to go adventuring with you all. He does kind of say offhandedly, if he was to ever want to find a replacement for his station in Castletown, it would be her.
Can we get that in writing? No, I'm kidding.
He's sad to hear about Lord Grastel. Much like the rest of much like a good portion of the nobility. In fact, he was completely unaware of Lord Grastel being a member of the Twilight Cartel and his warring aspirations, but really he only ever knew him from his impression from Lady Risha, and he just kind of like listens along to whatever story you provide him, and kind of like provides his own sort of take on certain situations. He's doing whatever it is, he's enthusiastically asking questions about things. And oddly enough, since the last time you saw him when he was alive, there's an energy to him that is not properly, because he doesn't need sleep anymore. He's no longer feeling without it, which is ironic considering the situation he is physically in. But he ultimately is just kind of happy to hear about your stories and the things that you have uncovered, especially when you're bringing up things like you've been to an island, you've had a vision of the past, you've done so many different things, you've been to the Lost Woods, and walked out alive. It's just there's
And also,
Yeah,
there's
he
this
bet- he
guy
bet
who
it-
meets in our dreams.
Yes, this old guy.
old guy. General description.
Pull out the old drawing I have of him.
Max describes him as bluntly as he can.
Mhm.
old guy, wrinkled face,
Yeah.
beard.
Doesn't give his name.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I remember Zidane had his own drawings of the guy, which were high quality.
He kind of looks over and says, "I do not recognize this man."
Darn
He
it.
seems to be very good at magic.
Very good at magic. I wonder if perhaps, well, I suppose, as you explained, Master Maya is not exactly within a talkative state from what you have said.
I tried.
He would have honestly been my best suggestion as someone who may know this individual, but otherwise, sorry, I cannot provide any further details. If I knew where Draenor was, the erstwhile Lord of the Arcane within Hyrule Castletown, but he was missing for a month before I employed any of you, so it's hard to say.
There's also no telling if that's his real face.
Of course. I'm not one for magic, but I imagine if they have the power to enter your dreams, they have the power to manipulate things within it, which includes them. So, it does not surprise me if that would not be his true face. Though awfully consistent, wouldn't you say? If he appears in the same physical form. Then again, if he was addressing all of you as a group, I suppose consistency would be key.
And more interesting, well, I mean, better news, I guess, rather than mysterious news. I got one of these, and I pull out the Quake medallion.
Oh my! How interesting. He kind of like looks over it a bit, and then it's like, I have no idea what that is.
And then I hand him the Book of Medora.
Max is glaring at it from behind, like.
I'm just going to raise a hand a moment and say, "Is that made out of Imperium?"
Oh.
You would have to ask Donatash, I'm afraid. He's a bit more learned in regards to the Imperium stuff than I am. He's kind of looking through the book.
Even if it is made out of Imperium, I can't use it until I find something else to focus it through. And I'm not going to have anyone else use it.
I wasn't suggesting using its special effect. I was thinking more how well it would work just smacking it against the thing.
Beat a guy with a coin.
Yes.
Just wrap a string around it.
Whose superpower is that again?
Not sure.
Deadshot?
I imagine there's like 70 different people with that superpower.
Yeah. Lucian.
Yeah. He kind of pulls over the book and looks through it and focus through a divine thing. Yeah. I suppose if it could be focused through something made of Imperium in turn, that would work.
Well, there's only one way to find out. That would be to get some Imperium.
I suppose so.
Which puts us back at square one.
Now I'm imagining like us going to the upper planes, finding like a blacksmith that is just like make us a sword of Imperium that we can slot the medallion into.
Medallions? There's 3 of them.
It's coin operated.
The coin operated divine sword. Oh no.
And it's like, okay, what kind of superpower do we want to use today? And just slot it in.
Would it be like one-armed bandit, the Redeemer, or something? Would that be the name of the weapon?
More like I would think it's a modular sword, where it's like if you have all 3 medallions, you can use like them in turn. It's like slot one in, take one out, mix and match.
Why does it have to be a sword?
Or a hammer. A hammer works just as well.
I like the idea of a divine hammer.
Yeah.
We can also just ask for like gauntlets that, or like a pair of Imperium knuckles that you can slide the medallion into, and do a real
brass knuckles of divinity.
Yeah.
The holy knuckles of pain. Anywho, continue.
As you're kind of discussing this, Simeon kind of like peers forward and like this. It doesn't feel like it's been terribly long, but as you kind of like look behind you, the little dot where the house was with the light on, gone. It's just void in all directions. Except when Simeon kind of peers forward a bit and sees like a distinct shape just appear on the horizon. This is, I believe that would be it. And picks up the pace slightly.
Can you try and keep up?
Yep.
After about 10 minutes of continuous trudging, you find yourself before what might have been a galleon, but it's difficult to say exactly. The shape is a bit weird, even when you can take into consideration that it is the back half of the vessel, or what you think would be the back half of the vessel. The mast is gone. There's just a big cavity at the front where the other half of the ship seemingly has just vanished, and it just rests in this darkness. I
will extend my light for aspiration to its maximum of 30-foot bright light, 30-foot dim light.
As you kind of like peer, like extend the light a bit, there are some errant scarabs that just kind of sit in different areas. They get exposed to light and then just fly away. As you kind of, when you see that, you take into account, oh yeah, scarabs and light. You look around yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever scarabs have taken notice of you and have decided that they want to try and have you for a meal are sitting at the very edge of the light where they are comfortable with. It's not quite at the level of a Plague Tale sort of swarm level. It's not going to be like that for
all that bit in pitch black.
Yeah, you are at the very least. Some of the scarabs have taken some level of notice in you, but otherwise it is seemingly safe.
I think I'll throw a bunch of Eldritch Blasts at them.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, the scarabs by themselves, they're easily targeted, shot, and destroyed.
Enjoy your bug snacks, harvester.
Max is just gonna light a torch with Shock and Grasp and start climbing up into the boat.
Okay.
I will follow.
Yeah. As the five of you enter into this vessel, you can see that the architecture is a bit weird. It's very smooth, waving lines that do not appear to be of any kind of nautical apparel that you are aware of from what you may have seen in Sarkoza, or anything for that matter. There are like scrolls with maps to places that you don't believe should exist. But what kind of strikes you as you and like there are different ornamental things for different symbols that you've never encountered before. And this is just going into like the lower parts of the ship. As you explore the various areas and like scarabs scatter to try and get away from your lights, and you can see how the different parts of this vessel exist. The one thing that strikes you is when you get into the captain's quarters. Instead of what you would assume to be a big desk with a lot of trunks or anything, or a map table, what you see is sitting in the center of the room, surrounded by delicate golden machinery, is what appears to be a globe of intricate, delicately balanced things that are positioned around it. And inside this globe of glass is this single candle that is unlit.
Okay. Does it seem to be like a control room?
You have even like you can try and roll for it if you would like to.
What should I roll?
I want to
Arcana.
try and figure it out.
That's an 18 for me.
14.
Also 14.
Fuck it. 16.
Huzzah! Dr. Hikan, PhD.
You're not quite sure. If it is a control, then you don't know how one controls it or why it controls it in this fashion. Like, considering how rough travel on the seas usually is, you would think that something that looks this delicate probably wouldn't handle intense maneuvering if something goes awry. So if you think if it is a control system, you don't know what to control what or how or why.
Okay, so Renji will not know this, but a little meta. Is this a spelljammer?
Hmm.
I am gonna tell everyone to stand back, and I'm gonna light the candle
Okay.
Okay.
with prestidigitation. See what happens.
Alright. You light the candle. As you do, the diminutive light expands out into the globe, and from it casts this grand diorama of infinite stars, little pinpricks on a vast dark ebon canvas that encompass the entire room and envelop the walls. No longer are you standing in the helm's room of a ship that is in the plane of lament. You are in a vast star field that even extends beneath your feet. And the only thing with you, the five of you in this room, is this delicate machine which seems to glow and shimmer with the light within.
Whoa.
This is so stinking cool.
Does the machinery look in any way damaged?
Make for me a perception check.
May I join?
Buddy.
Oh.
Yeah. With a 19 and a 20, you can both kind of identify different parts of the machine that seem to be bent slightly. Some parts look like something's been snapped off. There's just bits and pieces of it that that seem like they are broken. It's honestly something of a miracle that it has been able to if the ship is in this condition because it crashed here with some velocity, it is a miracle this thing is as intact as it is.
I'm gonna start casting mending on the bits that look broken, because I don't know what they're supposed to look like when they're fixed.
Okay. As you cast mending and begin fixing bits and pieces of it, the rest of you can observe that different, new stars seem to appear within the vast scape of this area. You can see different, things written in a language that I can guarantee no one in that room speaks, and you just see things just kind of popping up every so often. Delicate little details that are added every time Max fixes a part of the machinery.
I take out the sending stone and I start to describe this to Mara.
Okay.
I'm saying written, you say, and I get out the telescope for translation.
Okay.
Could I roll a survival check to attempt to identify constellations?
Sure. So you roll a survival check. Zayden takes
I do have navigator's proficiency as well.
That works as well.
Sure.
So the two of you can do that.
What? Okay, yeah, cool. 20.
I'll help.
Okay, 28. Natural 20.
Okay. With a 28, what you find within this starscape is that it doesn't appear to be a star field that neither of you recognize from Hyrule. It seems like it's a completely different sky. I mean, with what you know, you can make out it's okay, so within this star field, that is probably the North Star, and you just kind of point stuff out. But otherwise, because it's so completely different, what you can make out to be what may be similar constellations, they're just off slightly. Like a star is just in the wrong spot. Zayden, you take out the telescope, you look through it, and you pick one of the bits of dialogue that are popping up on this thing, and what becomes translatable, you see the first thing says Earth, OERTH. and you go to another one, and you see another name that you don't recognize, and it kind of goes on like this for a while with each new little bit of information that kind of pops up. Max, while you are fixing things, can you give me another Arcana with advantage? Okay. It doesn't come to you immediately, but as you're fixing things, you notice two aspects of this machinery. One, there is a cavity at the base of this which seems to house something, but you're not sure what. It's not necessarily broken. Something has been taken away, and is just gone. The other thing that you notice is that just under the globe are these little lights which, from what you can tell, probably light up in some fashion, but you can't be sure what. But yeah, I would say after finishing fixing the machine, or finishing fixing what you believe to be necessary for the machine, with Simeon pouring things over in his own way, and the rest of you kind of just examining bits and pieces of the starfield, you believe that you may have enough of an idea of how this thing probably works in order to manipulate it slightly. Like, not necessarily utilize it to its full function, but to kind of like move a controller slightly to see what happens.
Do we find any other names other than Earth?
I was going to say I want to see if we can find Hyrule.
Yeah.
Or whatever the planet of Hyrule is called.
Give me
probably Hyrule.
Give me an investigation check. We'll make it a group check if you're all checking together.
Yeah. 12.
Investigation. Hold on one moment. 18.
Okay.
60. God damn.
Okay. So, it takes you what you feel like is an hour. In addition, Renji, as you're describing everything to Mara, Mara says, "Okay, I'm writing this down. It's kind of 3 in the morning here at the moment. I'll take it to Uriel when I can. So I guess
I'll wait a little bit longer to respond."
Yeah, just wait a bit. Like, wait 2 minutes, and oh hey,
You up?
Oh dear.
It's me, your alarm clock.
Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep. But yeah,
Yeah. So, you find, through the use of the telescope, you find one, like after about an hour or so of investigating, you find one thing in particular, a little planet dot, which just hasn't got a designation yet. It just seems to have like question mark, question mark, question mark.
We've seen globes of Hyrule before. Does it look the same?
It's hard to tell because it's so small on the hologram, but you can, with the group investigation checks, or with your general arcana checks, you kind of like look over the machine and like take one thing and move it like a couple inches on the radius. The rest of the machine in turn, like some kind of kaleidoscopic perpetual motion machine, all turn in unison, and you see the star field all around you begin to shift slightly. And
I'm gonna be motion sick, says
yeah,
close your eyes.
Yeah, there's so like as you kind of like, okay, so that moves that thing that way, and you kind of begin moving things a little bit more and doing that, and after a few moments you get a close-up of this planet and you can recognize the landmass that is Hyrule. You can even make out like Death Mountain, Snow Ahead, that sort of thing, just to see this, your world, from such a interesting perspective. It's
Can we press Hyrule Castle Town? Or maybe close to Hyrule Castle Town.
Wait.
No.
Wait.
Yeah.
Should we go get the other living people first before we start pushing buttons?
We should probably also fix the actual boat up a bit so it doesn't disintegrate.
Yeah, true. We should also figure out if there's like nails around the ship.
Yeah.
If it's been pulled in here.
Max isn't developing an interest in mechanics. Shut up.
Yeah, so it's like, assuming it's like fascinating. The entire cosmology, entire. Wow. I'm not sure what to say.
Neither do I.
Pretty sure we
But-
can work it. Oh.
Have a bit of a suspicion that we now know who's taking the cows from Lon Lon Ranch.
Hello.
Hello?
Is that Simeon?
No, it's a voice from outside.
Okay.
I'm gonna take a
I-
look
I
inside.
don't know, go see what it
Thanks.
is.
It may take
That's
you a
the-
while to.
Max will linger behind a bit. Just
Okay.
make sure that no bugs come and eat the machine and
I will
then follow.
make sure that you stay in my light's radius.
I've got a torch.
Mm, it's not sunlight.
Ah,
They
it's
just
fine.
don't like
Light
any
is
light.
light.
Wait, is light to them.
La 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 la.
So Zayden, you head outside. Like you stumble perhaps a little bit as you walk through the curtain of stars in order to see like the doorway into the room again. But
Oh yeah, I also turned the candle off
yeah,
so
That's-
that we can see what we're doing.
yeah.
Yep, good idea.
As you kind of like step outside, you see you peer over the edge of the boat, and you see what appears to be roughly 20 individuals. They're all dressed in armor of some description, but they all are clearly posed. You can see hanging from their belt lanterns. Most of them have spears, and one of them at the front has a sword and shield.
Are they Hylian?
They appear to be. There's the one thing that catches your eye, Zayden, is the gentleman at the front. Very recognizable in his own way, and kind of clocks into your mind as you see the older designs of the armor that these Hylians are wearing, and the one at the front, this about average height, black hair, appears to be fairly stockily built. He kind of peers up to you, and you recognize this man to be Eitri Glassforger from the original vision of Castle Blackmore. And he looks up and says, I don't know who you are, but
It's a pleasure to meet you.
it's a pleasure to meet you too. It's good to see that you're not hostile. We just
I
saw
am
that
shining
there was-
like this beacon of sunlight.
Yeah, the posts don't care about that. It's only the bugs.
That's
Yeah.
true, but like it is sword shaped.
The we just saw a light on in the distance and thought we'd come investigate. Are you all right?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. Are you new here? Do you need like a place to stay?
I think we have that. I think we have that covered.
We're not staying long.
Yes, it's not our intention.
We're also not dead.
You're not what?
That too. Oops.
I figured he was gonna try. I figured he was gonna go into a spiel about that next.
You
I see.
mentioned that we recognize him, correct?
Yes, so he was the knight captain, or the soldier captain from Castle Blackmore, the one who basically ran you through the spiel when you turned up at Castle Blackmore in the past. He and the rest of these guys were soldiers at Castle Blackmore before supposedly Nazgradar turned up and wasted the place.
Is he the highest ranking of the group that we see here?
He certainly appears to be.
Captain?
He's doing all the talking.
Aye?
Do you remember Blackmore Castle?
I do, aye. That's how me and the lads here died. What do you know of Castle Blackmore?
We saw that.
You saw... Can we just get closer, please? I feel like shouting's just going to be a bit silly.
You guys
fair.
go down. You guys go down. I'll start fixing things up here.
All right. Do you need the sword?
I have a torch.
Okay. That's enough. Sure. We go down to this group of soldiers that we also died, right?
Max is just gonna cast mending on everything.
Yeah.
Good.
You died in the vision, but
Yeah.
It wasn't you. At best you probably
Yeah.
approximated that was you were taking on the guises of other people who were there.
Right. I'm sorry for being cryptic. We, as a group, experienced a vision of the attack on Blackmore Castle. We saw the devastation wrought by that hellish creature.
Oh, aye. You did you?
We did. And
Well.
we are actually, as far as we can gather, within a space either created by this creature, or at least utilized by this creature.
Right. Very well. You kind of like...
My name is Renji Vox.
Aye, Ichi Glassforger. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you in person, then, I suppose.
Well, I needn't explain how me and my lads here had arrived. Has it been?
Oh, that won't be necessary, no.
Has it been too long? How long has it been?
It has been quite long. By the time we revisited Blackmore Castle, it had fallen into ruin.
Right. Have a rough estimate on like a year, maybe?
I give him the year.
Oh.
I'm wondering if we even know the if we use the same measuring calendar thing, because
Yeah.
I think that was before Skyloft, if I remember correctly.
It was before Skyloft. When you give him the year, he'd like, he's trying to like stops a moment to try and calculate it in his head, and it's like, So, what's this? I'm sorry. Where are you from?
We are from Hyrule.
What's Hyrule?
It's the kingdom that sprang up long after your civilization fell into ruin.
Oh.
I believe we got the crash course on what happened around that time from the Temple of Hylia after coming back from the village? From the Firevine Forest, sorry.
Yeah, you were given the general gist.
give him the crash course.
Oh. Well, it's a good thing we won the war, I suppose.
That seems to be the case. But our time has its own share of problems and conflicts.
It's honestly been one of those things where I don't think any one of us have really kind of kept track of time.
Max is gonna yell up the railing. Also, some of those conflicts with the same guy.
Oh.
Yeah, some.
I see. Like, as you're having this conversation, Simeon has just kind of, like, wandered off slightly. He hasn't gone too far. He's just doing a lap around the ship to try and find things to investigate. And as the as Itri just kind of like thinks on it a bit more, says, "Well, I'm sorry to say that you're here for other aspects of not sure how to help with that." As he kind of like begins to sort of like try and make some kind of conversation with people who are alive and know the future and all that kind of stuff, your sending stone pipes up and says,
Right.
"Renji,
I'm here.
hi. I've got Uriel. I'm just gonna pass him over."
It's going to take long. Hello, Uriel. We are here with what seems to be a ship that can travel the stars.
Ah, yeah. Y'all done found yourself a spelljammer.
I have no idea what that means.
I suppose you didn't. But
Does a little dance. What?
well, here's a lowdown. It's like a ship that can fly through the sky and what some folks on different planes will call the astral sea, and it can hop between planes and is pretty dang strong.
That's something like the Golden Realm?
Not necessarily. Certain places you can't really navigate to manually. It's especially like demiplanes and stuff. Usually it's just to go to actual other worlds within the same material plane. Hopping from different planes of existence is a bit of a different issue. But
it is the task at hand.
Yeah.
I will say that, like, after he's said his piece.
So sending stones don't exactly give me the ability to see anything. And I'm thinking from a time differential, considering the fact that I've been waiting here with this stone in my hand for about an hour while we've been having this conversation. It's probably not going to be very helpful image-wise. So I'm going to make this brief. I could probably rattle off various questions at you about this spelljammer thing, but I don't think you would have any capability of understanding that. Not to say that you're not smart, it's just that spelljammers there hasn't been one in Hyrule at all, ever. It's just that this would be the first approximation of someone from this world being able to find one of them in their own way. I'm sure they'll develop one in their own time. It just might take a while.
We steal this one.
Oh, we're stealing this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Claim it for Hyrule.
if I was to place a guess on the best way that y'all are going to be able to get out of that plane of lament nonsense, it's going to be that ship. It doesn't have to be fully complete in order to move, but it's best that if you were going to be moving it anywhere, you're going to be going somewhere that that you know where it's going to go, you know?
Yeah, I know. Also, I will not say this out loud, but Renji's thought in hearing this is, there hasn't been one in Hyrule. How does Uriel know about this? Doesn't say that. We'll keep that in the back of his mind.
So,
Max has been repairing the instruments as best as he can, using mending on the things. We have.
I just lean over and say, "There's something missing."
There seems to be something missing. From where?
I describe what I saw that had a thing missing.
okay. As it's relayed to Yura and says, okay, that seems to be its arcane battery has gone missing. So, unless what you're looking at has been pulled into that area, that plane of existence, well, that's the thing. Either I have to find it, or you have to make a new one. And making a new one's going to take forever. And considering the time differential, we'll probably all be, like, dead and gone from old age by the time you can get back.
That doesn't sound like a ideal situation.
Well, no, it doesn't.
There's still again, we have still like money to give you, so
that's why I'm doing this for free. I'm not gonna let my best customers just disappear on me. There's a reason why I'm helping y'all out without a fee. It's a long-term investment. Also, you're good folks, and I don't want to see you gone. But anyway.
I don't think this is how the time differential says Hikan.
As you're discussing this, Simeon comes back and says, well, I can't seem to find any spikes from that you might have described that might have pulled it here. So I'm assuming that either whatever did this was a very powerful spellcaster, or it got here by itself.
Can we hear what's like? Is it? Can we hear what Uriel's saying over the sending stone?
Unfortunately,
I have it on speaker.
Oh, you have it on speaker. Okay. As you guys say, it's like, well, then that means that whatever is capable of pulling it in, well, that means that unless whatever lives in that dimension, if there is a thing that lives in that dimension, is have pulled it there on purpose, chances are that the original occupants had been going somewhere that they weren't expecting, and they crashed there, which means that the battery in and of itself is still within the plane of lament somewhere. You just gotta find it.
Okay.
It's certainly a quest hook.
I mean, I might have something of an idea.
Does this half of the boat have the crow's nest on it?
It does not. Every possible mast within the ship has essentially been sundered.
Okay.
Aiden will offer the broom of flying. To get a long-range look.
Because we haven't taken a look from this area.
So as you do that, you ascend into the sky to see if you can find any other notable landmarks. You see the pip of light from the house where you came from, and a short distance away you can see another pip of light that you assume to be where Masro is at the moment. You do not see any other pip. Well, actually no, give me a perception check. Whoever's on the broom.
I'm fixing the ship.
13. Unless I have help somehow.
I'm also
Like
on the
that?
broom. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh dear.
Well, if someone could tell me like the likely direction that it would have popped out if it came loose in flight, judging by the damage
I
to the
will
ship.
I will use aspiration to kind of use as like a compass point. If you're giving me those directions.
Okay. Yeah, I can accept that as having advantage on the perception check then.
Yay!
The only thing you see is what you can only assume to be some structures that are just on the horizon, where the darkness of the land meets the slightly lighter aspect of the sky. You can see something that doesn't exactly look flat in the distance, and it doesn't look like it's a naturally rolling hill either. And
Zidon will point in that direction, say some kind of buildings over there.
Hmm. And as you point out, Eitri looks in that direction and is like, I see. If you're heading in that direction, I'd be careful if I were you.
Anything you can tell us about it?
From what I can see, it's a series of discarded ruins, but they look like they were actually forged here. They weren't actually pulled here. They're not like this, and he just points at the ship. Says, looks like some buildings that were actively made as being part of this area. I had a scout go there once to see exactly what might be going on. He came back and said that, well, it was getting a real bad feeling about it. It's a cold, foreboding feeling, and there are a lot more cohesive undead there, like skeletons and zombies and the like. If there is an intelligent thing here, and if you're looking for something that's missing, my best guess is, depending on when this thing turned up, chances are, if something made off with this, what was it, a battery that you said you're missing?
Magic
Sort
battery.
of power source.
Yeah, if something was looking for it, it's probably over there.
We have our heading.
Have I managed to fix most of the ship during this discussion?
Yeah, whatever things that you can find that are small enough to be fixed by mending that you can fix, you have fixed. Looks rather spiffy up to the point where like most of it is just missing from the front. Yeah, Uriel reiterates in most instances, like says, before I go and get some shut eye, just to kind of give you a bit of a heads up. You only really need the whole thing if you are thinking of taking a more dedicated journey. If you were just wanting to get out of here and get back to Hyrule on a one-way trip, then you just need the battery. That's all you need. And some spare spell slots if you can, or spare magical power, I suppose, if you have that.
I got plenty of that.
I got some. We'll be I say into the sending stone. I think we'll be all right on that front.
Right. Well, I'm gonna
Is
get
there
some.
anything else? Is there anything else that you have information about us? I will not bother you for a while after this point, so that you can get some good rest.
Nope, I don't have anything. I'll pass you back on over to Mara just in case. After a brief amount of like, at the moment he ends that sentence, Mara picks up and says, "Hi. So, I guess you guys have a plan?"
We do. We seem to have a heading of some domiciles or buildings where the arcane battery may have been taken to. We do not know for certain, but it is at least a heading that we can go and investigate.
Okay. All right. I don't really have any other updates on my end. Uriel's going to get some rest.
You
Uh,
go sleep too.
You go sleep too. We have the dead to keep us company.
It's going to be a
as in-
while, and it's likely going to be a while before I hear from you guys again. If you can tell me within a good amount of time where you guys are going to be ending up again with this plan of yours, like where you'll reappear, I'll meet you there. But just get this done. Be careful. I'll see you soon.
We'll be back.
Okay. And Sending Stone goes dead as you are left to your plans.
Nice to climb down.
During that conversation, I will suggest that the captain and the crew can head over to Mazro if they're looking for people to help.
If they've been running around by themselves for this time.
We'll give them the password.
Yeah, if you're aiming to use a ship to get the living people back to the material plane at the very least, then they're gonna need an escort when they make their way over here. So might as well. Right, Ben, we've got a place to go. And after you point them in the direction of Mazro, they will begin moving in a I think so much time has passed at this point that the need for regimented formations is just gone. Like, Itri is at the front, the rest of them just kind of form this disorganized group that follows Itri as they go onwards. Yeah, they march their way along. Simeon just kind of watches them go and then looks to you guys and says, "Now I know that I'm not exactly going to be falling prey to the denizens that dwell on this plane of existence, but I know when I will get in the way. Would you like me to accompany them back to Mazro so you can get this business done?"
I think Donatash might be able to use your brain for some of the stuff with the nails if he's looking into them.
True.
Good call. I will go and join them. I suppose that's a point, actually. He kind of thinks. He says, chances are, if something does take offense to you taking this arcane battery, as so to speak, then time will be of the essence, and I do not believe you will have the luxury to make your way all the way over to the village and then all the way back here in some terrible thing. If you have some form of signal that you can utilize that would let us know when you are on your way back to the ship, if you have some form of flare or anything that we can probably see from a distance, then let us know, and we will, when we see
have
it,
a broom and we have a shining
I can do
light.
a flare.
You can do a flare? Okay.
We
Okay.
have some means, yes.
Very well.
Max has firebolt.
We will make our way over when we see it. And hopefully we will meet you at the vessel by the time that you return. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
He gives a slight bow.
Not
and,
just for this. They just look the other side for introducing us.
Yeah.
As I said, I couldn't have asked for better friends.
We couldn't either.
Yeah, he gives a bow And he turns to catch up with Eitri and his troop. And
Safe journey.
yeah. He,
Towards the buildings.
yeah. As you turn to your next destination within this darkened plane of existence, that I believe is where we will call the session for today. Thank you everybody for watching. This has been ArticulateT. This has been episode 98 of the Legend of Zelda D&D campaign, Hyrule Chronicles. With me, as always, I have Renji Vox, being played by TheNetherlad.
El Jammer!
I have Hikan Sio, being played by Avrdal.
Bye-bye.
I have Zayden Shari, being played by Robopart.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
We did.
We did.
Hi.
Hi.
There we go.
Hi. There. Hi. Bye. And we have Max, being played by Keisha.
I'm gonna be putting so many spell slots into this thing. I've got so many sorcery points, you guys. I am basically gonna be the battery.
Oh dear.
And we will see you guys next time. Take care now. Bye bye then.